My name is Kizzy Morris, and I'm the Provost and Chief Academic Officer here at Cheney University, and we have the distinct pleasure of once again hosting the summit. I have a little bit more than 23 years of experience working in higher ed. Really, my focus is on creating innovative success pathways through mentorship and professional development. And so I have led the mentorship toolkit development over the last couple of months, and you'll be able to see a little bit more about that later. One of the things, or some of the things that I'm also involved in is I'm advisory board member for PASHI's DEI. I'm the vice chair for ACRO's Black Caucus and a member of PA HEAL Education Action Committee. But most importantly, I am the daughter of 2 early childhood educators and a parent of a future 5th grader. So we want to try to provide you with a brief history of PEDC to share the connection in, because some of you have been hearing us talking about and referring to aspiring to educate, to also tell you about the working group and outcomes as a result of things that and activities, events, and planning that we've been doing over the last year and some, introduce you to the toolkits and to discuss the current status and efforts of PEDC. PEDC really started as a grassroots efforts. The fact is that teacher diversity within Pennsylvania, there's only 6% of teachers who are persons of color, compared to 36% of our students who are diverse. That is a very stark statistic. Back in summer of 2018, a few of us, faculty and administrative colleagues, began meeting in the Philadelphia area just over coffee and lunch, just to discuss how we can strategically collaborate and come together to support educator diversity. And hence, the Institutions of Higher Education Educator Diversity Consortium was created. Connecting in with PDE, back in October of 2019, PDE issued an RFP for Philadelphia area schools and universities. And really it was under the Aspiring to Educate initiative. I don't know how many of you had tuned in, but there was an official press conference a month later on November the 20th at CCP to share out information about the Aspiring to Educate initiative and to also to showcase the 7 colleges and universities along with local education and youth organizations that would be involved with this effort from the beginning. The goal really was to increase the number of Black and Latinx teachers in Pennsylvania. And we set a lofty goal of, from the 6% to 20% by 2025, right? And the way that we were going to do that was to look at various pathways in order to boost that pipeline and to be able to sustain it. We're going to look at youth pathways, collegiate pathways, and post-baccalaureate pathways. The initial areas for intervention were along 4 pillars. That was recruitment, mentorship, retention, and it's very important for us to develop this all in the context of culturally relevant and sustaining education competencies. And so the IHE Educators Diversity Consortium connection in with A2E, really a month later in December of 2019, we began officially meeting at Temple University, and it included all of the 7 colleges and universities, along with the Center for Black Educator Development, which is a nonprofit that was funded out of A2E. We began meeting monthly to look for opportunities to collaborate. Shortly thereafter, there was a shift in staffing capacity at PDE. And so the consortium A2E working group became the main group that would be responsible for carrying on this work. We started meeting at Temple University and then bam, COVID hit, right? But we did not want that to stop our work. And so we quickly switched over to virtual meetings to continue discussions and strategic collaboration across the institutions and the organizations in order to be able to do the work that was necessary. As a group, we set goals for the development of the culturally relevant and sustaining education competencies. And we knew that we needed to provide some support and wrap our heads around creating these toolkits that would provide the guidance to others in order to continue the work of increasing teacher diversity within the Commonwealth. Again, the 4 toolkits: the CRSC competencies, recruitment, mentorship, and retention. And then last June, around this time, we were able to hold our first annual summit and showcase all this work and be able to invite others in to be a part of what we were doing. Some of the early outcomes of the funded projects included activities that created professional development opportunities for teachers, mentorship programs, dual enrollment, summer residency programs. I know here at Cheney, we started a future educator boot camp. Last summer, we had a cohort of over 20 students who we helped to foster their interests and to help them understand what a career as an educator could mean for them. We had a good majority of those students, about 91% of them, chose to matriculate. And so they are in college, attending and pursuing various things with the thought process of one outcome is that they're working towards being a future educator. This summer, we are welcoming another group of 15 students who we are hoping to do the same thing. And these are rising seniors, graduating seniors who have an opportunity to decide on, still make a decision on what they want to do for the fall. Other program outcomes dealt with summer pre-apprenticeships, after-school professional development for students. We're able to continue the work of the consortium and also to develop these CRSE competencies, which we are hoping will be infused into curriculum and programs at various schools across the Commonwealth. Part of this also involved creating scholarship opportunities because we know that finances act as a barrier for students who want to get into education. And so we're able to create some scholarship opportunities for students to be able to select education as a major and to have that seamless transition. And part of this also was to do a program evaluation of all of this work and all of our efforts so far to be able to report out on our progress. What's the current status of PEDC? Well, as of right now, we have more than 80 individuals from nearly 40 institutions, and that's school districts, that's institutions of higher education, colleges and universities, many various organizations and community-based agencies. That's all a part of this effort. We meet regularly, at least once a month, and we're examining challenges. We're finding and implementing solutions together, all under the auspices of still increasing that teacher diversity within the Commonwealth. So, what are our goals, values, and the framework of PEDC? Well, I keep mentioning it, we are out to increase the number of diverse teachers in the Commonwealth, right? And we also want to be able to effect systemic change in recruiting and retaining a diverse educator workforce in the Commonwealth. Some of the things that we have valued and will continue to value with this work, of course, is diversity, collaboration, our efforts for and towards race and social justice, and student and educator success. We do this under the framework of the culturally relevant and sustaining education competencies, specifically that's guided by culturally relevant pedagogy, culturally sustaining pedagogy, and critical race theory. The efforts of PEDC continue. From this summit, you would be able to see and actually get a deeper dive into the toolkits that were created. So part of what we're doing is distributing and maintenance of those toolkits. Part of this effort is also in terms of outreach, to invite others to become a part of our work that we would need to do, right? Our journey to diversify the educator workforce. You've seen in the chat and what's been posted are advocacy efforts for changes. We most definitely need to be working towards changing policies, procedures, and practices that are centered around teacher diversity. We're also involved in researching best practices and promoting those successful programs to share and provide solutions to each other as we're continuing this work. We're analyzing existing data, we're identifying missing data elements, and we're collecting data to enable decisions to be made relating to equitable and inclusive educational environments. We're also tracking and reporting on progress towards the goals and increasing teacher diversity. And of course, we need resources in order to do this. And part of our efforts would be in terms of fundraising to support the consortium activities and efforts towards achieving its goals. The work continues. It's highlighted through events and activities like this, when we can take 2 days and showcase what we've been doing, welcoming others in, and really have some hard and maybe even some difficult conversations of what's happening, hearing from our students so far, hearing from educators who are out there in the field, having you participate interactively, all of this in an effort to, we're engaging members and educational stakeholders in this important dialogue about the future of educator diversity within the Commonwealth. And there's a lot of work that still needs to get done. We saw Dr. Duncan, who spoke about Tennessee as a good example of a state who is growing their own. And we need to examine and look at other states and other programs and other things that folks are doing that could help us with this work. There are new opportunities out there, things that we have not heard about yet, that, in connecting and coming together, we're able to unveil and try to figure out what are the tools that are needed for us to mobilize, prioritize, and take actionable steps towards increasing the number of Black and Latinx and culturally relevant and sustaining educators in Pennsylvania. So that's just a little bit about PEDC. We wanted to take some time this afternoon to at least provide those who are not familiar with what we have been doing since the summer of 2018 and what we will continue to do. But I want to also have you hear from one of our colleagues, a colleague and a good collaborator in this process with us,